Hey guys, it is John C. Morley here, serial entrepreneur. Great to be with you on Inspirations for Your Life. Today, ladies and gentlemen, in case you're wondering, it is, Monday, June 2nd, 2025. Thanks so much for tuning in to Inspirations for Your Life. We have an amazing show, once again, just for you guys here. So great to have you here. If you are somebody coming back, well, welcome back. If you're new, well, welcome for the first time. Our granular topic we'll get to in a minute, but our master topic, guys, is timeless principles for living with intention and integrity. This is series 4, and the granular is loyalty and emotional generosity, I should say. Deepen and strengthen, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, relationships, series 4, show 23, episode 3. Hey, guys, if you are hungry and you want to grab something from the kitchen, well, feel free to do that. Maybe it's hot, maybe it's cold, maybe it's sweet, maybe it's sour, tart, whatever it is, healthy or not. Go ahead and get that, and definitely come on back to the show, everyone. It is so great to be with everyone here. All right, well, let's kick this off, okay? Oh, don't forget to check out believemeachieve.com after the show or tomorrow, whenever you have time. We have 24 hours a day. We have all kinds of content to inspire and motivate you to have a better version of you. Welcome back. As I said to everyone, I am your host, John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. You know, it's always a privilege, pleasure, and honor to be with you guys every time I'm live or I produce content for you. I'm not only a podcast host, but I'm also a podcast coach, serial entrepreneur, engineer, video producer, and a couple other things. And I'm also pursuing my master's now at Montclair State University. So it is great to be with everyone here on Inspirations for Your Life. Thank you so much for tuning in with me and keep me company tonight. All right. So, I think it's important to understand not only that I believe that relationships are the heartbeat of the meaningfulness of life, but they truly are, I'm going to say, the energy that keeps us going. In today's powerful session, I'm going to dive into 2 traits that don't just enrich our relationships, they actually anchor them. That's loyalty and that's emotional generosity. Now, they aren't just the warm and fuzzies concepts that, they are real, they're actionable, values that can deepen trust and strengthen emotional bonds and build a foundation of resilience in every kind of relationship, personal, professional, or spiritual. So, everyone, just grab your coffee, get cozy, and let's explore how embracing these values can elevate the way you connect, communicate, and care for people every single day, including yourself. Number 1, loyalty creates trust and stability. Loyalty is the invisible thread or the glue that keeps relationships grounded. It tells others, hey, I'm here, no matter what. In a world filled with uncertainty and change, loyalty becomes a pillar of reliability. When you're loyal, you're not just showing up physically, you're showing up emotionally and mentally too. It creates an unspoken security that fosters deep trust, knowing that even when things get, how can we say, a little tough, you're not going to vanish or turn away. Loyalty isn't about blind allegiance, it's about conscious commitment. And that kind of devotion becomes the soil, folks, where trust and long term stability can thrive. Emotional generosity. Number 2, fosters empathy and connection. Wow, John, that's a big one. I know it's a really big word. So being emotionally generous means giving your time, your heart, and your presence without hesitation. It's listening, okay, without interrupting. And that's key. Supporting without conditions and loving without measuring. Emotional generosity fosters empathy because when you give openly, you naturally begin to understand others more deeply than you first see at the surface. You step into their shoes, which is where we get the whole connection of empathy. And with the understanding comes that greater connection, if you choose to, with compassion, where you help them take a step or you take a step to get them to be in another spot. In a relationship, emotional generosity says, your joy is my joy. Your pain matters to me. It strengthens the human bond beyond words. It creates soulful intimacy that can't be faked. Now, I'm not talking about anything adult related here. I'm just talking about intimacy in the fact that you can have a relationship. Intimate meaning that the person understands your dynamic. It doesn't have to be anything adult related or anything like that. But it's just the fact that you are mature enough to understand how the person is and they understand how you are. And it's a nice yin and yang, even if it is a platonic relationship. So that's important. So, number three, both build resilience in relationships. I think that's an important thing. We don't understand what that means all the time. Um, so when loyalty and emotional generosity coexist, they become a shield against life's inevitable challenges. Relationships built on these values don't crumble at the first sign of stress, they evolve. Why? Because they're rooted in endurance, not convenience. When misunderstandings arise or hardship strikes, a loyal and emotionally generous person doesn't withdraw, they lean in. They seek understanding, not escape. This creates a partnership that's not only durable, but adaptive, ready to grow, stronger through adversity instead of falling apart. Number four, giving without expecting enhances mutual respect. And I think a lot of people don't understand that we really do need to give. You might have heard the saying, you need to give to get. I think that's a real important thing. So I think that's important. So I want you to think what all that means, right? Um, so that's the important thing to realize, guys. That's really, really the important thing to realize. One of the most powerful forms of emotional maturity is giving without expecting anything in return. I know that's not how the way our world works, but when we operate from that premonition, we get a lot more back. It's a quiet strength that says, hey, I give because it's who I am, not because I want something from you. This kind of giving inspires mutual respect because it removes manipulation and ego from the equation. It takes it off the table. It's no longer transactional, it's transformational. Let me say that again. It's not transactional, it's transformational. When both people in a relationship, whether it's platonic or non platonic, adopt this mindset, it creates a ripple effect. Generosity begets generosity, and appreciation becomes natural, not forced. That's how respect becomes the currency of the relationship, I should say. All right. And I think that's a very important thing to understand. Number five, guys, you ready for that? Loyalty shows up in action, not just words. Okay. That's pretty important. Um, Loyalty shows up in action, not just words. And so, what does that mean? Well, it means it's easy to say, I've got your back. But what happens when things get complicated? Loyalty proves itself not in promises, but in presence. It's when someone sticks around, though there's some awkward conversations surfacing, hard truths, and difficult seasons. Actions speak loyalty far louder than any vow or text message could ever. Showing up again and again is a powerful message that says, you matter to me, even when it's not easy. That consistency of action builds a powerful legacy of dependability that strengthens relationships over time. And that's important, guys. It's about time, it's about commitment. Okay. Uh, and I think that's an important thing for us really to understand. All right. It's very important that we understand what that means. And so if we understand that how we evolve is because of the way we perceive life, well, that can be pretty amazing and powerful. So again, emotional support strengthens the emotional safety is next. When you create a space where others feel safe, express themselves, they feel okay to cry, to dream, or even to respectfully disagree, you offer an emotional sanctuary. An emotional safety is a quiet superpower in any relationship. It allows people to show up as their full selves without fear of judgment or rejection. That safety net doesn't happen by accident. It's built through ongoing emotional support by validating feelings, asking deeper questions, and simply being present. You help remove walls and foster deeper vulnerability. And vulnerability is where true connection is born. All right. A lot of people don't want to be vulnerable because they think if they are, it's going to like ruin them. But the truth is, when you share something about being vulnerable, you know what happens? People open up about who they are. Okay. They open up to about who they are and why. And I think that's an important thing to realize. So, number seven brings us to consistency and compassion equals deeper bonds. That's another one of those powerful things, guys, right? Think of those two words. Consistency and compassion equals deeper bonds. Consistency without compassion can feel cold. Compassion without consistency can feel unreliable. But put them together and you've got magic. When you're both dependable and emotionally available, you build bonds that run deep. People begin to count on you, not just for tasks, but for presence, support, and for care. That blend of steady showing up and heartfelt listening is what deepens relational roots. Over time, these roots grow strong enough to weather anything life throws their way. And I think that's an important thing for us all to realize is that we want to dig deep to the core. Number eight, these traits attract and sustain meaningful connections, similar to the way, a magnet is able to attract metal and the iron ore, right? We know how positive, right? Positive and negative, right? Opposites attract, right? I think that's important to know. Let's be real, everyone. People are drawn to those who are loyal and emotionally generous. There's no other way to shake that stick. Why? Because it feels safe, nourishing, and real. In a world full of surface level conversations and disposable relationships, these values stand out. They're rare, and that makes them magnetic. But more importantly, they sustain connections. They turn acquaintances into friends, colleagues into partners, and moments into memories. If you want relationships, folks, okay, true relationships that don't just exist but thrive, cultivate loyalty and emotional generosity daily. They are the magical glue, I should say the super glue, that holds everything in your life together. Without it, things will just, they'll kind of fall apart, guys. They will fall apart. And so I know that you're probably saying, John, like, this is hard for me. Well, I didn't say it was going to be easy, right? But I think what's going to hopefully help everyone is this part of the show. I'm going to give you some personal, let's say, lessons or stories about each point. Okay. And it's my hope that these stories, these lessons of mine, will not only get you to understand what I'm talking about today, but help you to have a take home, help you to connect this to something in your life. Many people say, hey, John, this is great. But, when you can't relate to something that happens in your life or your own, it causes you to, I don't know, not have, let's say, a connection to it. So when I've been doing these stories, which I've been doing for the last few months, I've been getting great feedback on them because they say, hey, John, these actually get me to connect. And I think that's a positive thing when we know that a story can make us be like, you know what? You're just like me, or I'm just like you. And that's important. Really, really important. So let's dig in. All right. A few years ago, I faced a challenge. A deal I was working on collapsed unexpectedly, and I felt like the ground had been pulled out from under me. During that time, a longtime friend and colleague stood by me. He didn't offer magic solutions or false positivity. He simply said, I'm with you in this. That loyalty, his steady presence gave me more than advice ever could. It reminded me that I wasn't alone. And through the trust that we had, we actually ended up building something even stronger together. Loyalty. You see, loyalty doesn't erase difficulty, but it makes the burden lighter and the path clearer. That experience showed me how loyalty is often silent, but it's incredibly powerful if you embrace it. Number two, emotional generosity fosters empathy and connection. I once mentored someone who was struggling not just with business, but with their self worth. Every time we met, I could see how much pressure he was under, how much he just needed to be heard. So I made it my mission to really listen, not to fix anything, but to understand. I gave him time, empathy, and space to talk through his fears. Slowly, I saw him transform. He didn't just grow in skill, he grew in confidence. That's what emotional generosity does. It allows someone to bloom in their own time, giving without rushing, without judgment, creating a space where real connection happens and real growth begins. So, what I want to tell you about that is this person I wanted to break the ice with, I should say. I started with like a sketch pad, a big sketch pad, and I was doing this kind of like an ad lib thing, but not really. I was just doing this little game thing. And he said, "Well, why would you do that?" He said, "What's the point of that?" I said, "You don't think it's funny?" No. So I'm like, "Oh boy, I've got a real hard egg to crack." No pun intended. And so at that point, I just kind of said, "Okay, whatever," to myself. And when I just kind of was quiet, and I said to them, "Are you looking forward to getting back to work?" And he said, "No." And I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "How's work going?" He's like, "Oh, don't ask." I said, "Well, if you don't want to share with me what's going on, that's fine, but I'm here to listen." A few minutes later, after we finished playing a pool game, he started talking like a canary. And I mean that in the sense that he just kept spilling everything, telling me that, "Hey, John, if I don't do this by a certain date, you don't know what's going to happen to me." So, what do you mean? I'm going to lose my bonus. I mean, I'm like, right now I've got 2 weeks. And if I don't close another, I think he had to close another $10,000 in gross sales, he would lose this big bonus. They've always had the big bonus, but this a couple of years ago was very hard for him. And he just started becoming so materialistic that he forgot what mattered to him. Now, materials aren't bad, guys, but we have to understand that people matter. Like, remember what Jen Drummond said, people over peaks, very important. So, both build resilience in relationships. I remember a time when one of my closest friendships hit a rough patch. Misunderstandings had piled up, and we were both hurt. It would have been easy to just let silence grow or walk away from it. But because we had built our friendship on loyalty and emotional generosity, we chose to talk it out, honestly and vulnerably. That wasn't easy. We had to listen, take responsibility, and offer forgiveness. But we did it. And the bond we rebuilt, stronger than ever before. That's when I realized resilient relationships don't avoid conflict, they face it with grace. And loyalty plus generosity are what make that possible. Loyalty plus generosity. Number four, giving without expecting enhances mutual respect. I think a lot of people say they'll do this, but then when push comes to shove, they're like, "Well, what are you going to do for me?" A former coworker of mine, who was an employee of mine, once helped me through a major challenge that I had. Something was completely stuck, and he stayed late, missed his own plane, and never once made me feel like a burden to him. When I offered to buy him dinner or return the favor, he simply smiled and said, "Nah, I just wanted to help." That moment stuck with me. It wasn't about the favor, it was about who he was, his selflessness act, deepening my respect for him. And later on, when he needed a reference for a job, I didn't hesitate to jump to the front of the line. See, giving without expecting isn't weakness, it's strength in disguise, and it's always coming back around. And I think that's an important thing is that, there'll be that time for you to shine. And of course, the dinner is a nice thing, but it wasn't about that to him. Now, I'm not saying you don't have to take the dinner, but it meant more to me, or I should say to him, that I actually was grateful for what he did. Number five, loyalty shows up in action, not in words. A lot of people will preach that it's about being loyal, but they don't have one loyal action in their body. There was a time when a friend of mine was dealing with a serious family issue. Everyone else in the circle back away. Maybe because they didn't know what to say. I almost did too, out of discomfort at first. But then I realized this was when he needed me most. So I showed up. I sat with him in the hospital waiting room. I checked in daily. I brought meals. None of those things required grand gestures, but each said one thing: hey, I'm here. That's what loyalty looks like in action. It's not always loud, but it's always present. And years later, he still talks to me about those quiet moments meant in the hospital as I gave him strength to cope with the situation that he was dealing with. Number six, emotional support strengthens emotional safety. A team member of mine once broke down during a private meeting, admitting he was overwhelmed both at work and at home. Instead of rushing to resolve things, I paused and just said, it's okay not to be okay right now. That one sentence changed the entire energy of the room. He opened up more, and I could tell he felt seen. That moment reinforced a truth I now live by: emotional safety. It isn't about having all the answers, folks. It's about being present without pressure, by offering support without judgment. We give others permission to be real, and in that space, trust just sort of naturally flourishes. Number seven, consistency and compassion equals a deeper set of bonds. When I was building one of my businesses in a very long time ago, I had a mentor who would call me every Monday morning at 9 a.m. without fail. Sometimes we talked strategy, other times we just chatted the breeze. But that consistency became an anchor during chaotic times. He also never dismayed my concerns, no matter how small or how big they were. And the ones that seemed so small to me, he took great interest as well. That blend of reliability and genuine care created a bond I still cherish today. His example taught me that consistency without compassion is routine, but consistency with compassion is relational gold. Let me say that again. Consistency without compassion is routine. And many people in the world are going to do that because they're all just about their own stuff. But consistency with compassion is relational gold. It's how trust becomes rhythm, not a rare event. I was in school today, and I'm always friendly with my fellow classmates, but I could tell this one person I was talking to, I was even sharing some vulnerabilities about something going on in the class, and I could just tell from his voice that he wasn't really interested in talking to me. He was polite and all that, but there was no real opening up, just like, yeah, I do that too. And it was just kind of like this, I don't know, no real interest to be friends with you because everybody thinks their stuff's more important. That's sad. Number eight, guys. These traits attract and sustain meaningful connections. Some of the deepest friendships and business relationships I've built weren't born from the flashy pitches or the polished introductions that I gave. They began with my truthful authenticity and integrity. A kind gesture here, a sincere follow up there. Over time, people saw that I wasn't here just for a transaction. I cared about people, and that care drew the right kind of connections into my life. One client turned into a lifelong friend simply because I remembered his birthday and checked in after his father had passed away. Loyalty and emotional generosity are magnets. They're not for everyone, but for the right people, they are. And that's what makes them priceless. You're not going to find these people on every corner. There's going to be people that are never going to have time for you. Unfortunately, that's what happens in life. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't keep trying. That doesn't mean that there might not be somebody else that's open to that. Because I think a lot of people are fearful and they're scared. I think the real reason is people don't want to be vulnerable. People are afraid of how you might judge them, whether you're at a higher level or lower level. People get intimidated. Even going back to school with all my experience, I'm always very humble with people, but when people hear about all my accomplishments, well, they're not so willing to welcome me because maybe they haven't done what I've done. And we said before, you don't want to compare yourself to others. You want to compare yourself to you. My final words of wisdom tonight is incorporating these traits consistently can and will create a culture where acknowledgement, gratitude, and emotional presence fuel growth, satisfaction, and meaningful connections. Whether you're looking to enhance your friendships, elevate your workplace, or strengthen your family ties, loyalty and emotional generosity are the keys. But I don't want you to think it's going to be easier, that it's going to happen overnight, because, folks, it will not happen overnight. And you say, John, I've tried this so much, but it's not working and I give up. Well, you've just started to scratch the surface. You haven't even gotten the first level of the wrapping off of the package. I think when people realize how humbleness can really get them to feel well, but get other people to be in their court. Now, I don't tell you to be humble just to get people in your court. You be humble because you have deep integrity. You never sell your soul out because you think it's what you need to do. You act from a position of who you are. I think that's an important thing. But many people are about, well, what can you do for me? What have you done for me lately? That's a terrible thing, guys. Terrible thing. So tonight we talked about some important things. Loyalty and emotional generosity deepen and strengthen relationships. Loyalty, very similar to a dog, right? The dog is loyal. The dog's around you all the time. You take care of the dog's going to be loyal to you. Emotional generosity can happen anywhere, with an animal, a pet, with people. Emotional generosity is basically allowing yourself to be vulnerable, but then putting your love, putting your care on the line. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. It's always a privilege, pleasure, and honor to be with you guys in these amazing shows. Do check out BelieveMeAchieve.com for more of my amazing, inspiring creations. I'll catch you real soon, everyone. Be well.